So last night was the premiere of Jennifer Williams' My True Scam Story. I don't know if you guys happened to catch that. It came on at 8 p.m. Now, a lot was going on yesterday. I don't know if you guys peeped it or not, but Dr. Heavenly and Carlos King did a live recap of Real Housewives of Potomac and Married to Medicine. That was wild. So I was watching that as I was trying to also watch Jennifer's My True Scam Story. And then, of course, the episode of Basketball Wives Los Angeles premiered, followed by Orlando. We're going to talk about Basketball Wives LA today, intertwined with a little bit of the My True Scam Story, but not in the way that you think, because it sounds like the True Scam Story also includes Royce Reed. How do I mean? Well, if you guys woke up this morning and happened to clock into YouTube like I did, you will note that Carlos King did an interview with Royce Reed. Now, this is again another two-part affair. However, the first part of this really honed in on Royce's time on Basketball Wives. And in this interview, Royce details literally what I feel like is an interesting case of betrayal, okay? Scandal, shocking text messages. So we're going to discuss that, and then we're going to also discuss Basketball Wives. And really, we can kind of skim through that. You know what I'm saying? But some important things did happen. But really, I want to touch on the Royce thing first. Notably, Royce was the person who actually went around to the networks to pitch Basketball Wives. It wasn't Shaunie. Also, there was a situation where Shaunie's ex, Shaquille O'Neal, was allegedly, okay, let me put the alleged badge up here, trying to get with Royce, sending her text messages, yet cursing her out when she wouldn't give in to his advances. So we're going to talk about what happened when she revealed that information to Shaunie. Okay. So there's a lot of tea to cover here, and I'm going to get into it right now. I had to give you guys the context for which I wanted to discuss all of this today, because there is a lot to go over. So let's dive right in. With regards to how she came onto Basketball Wives, you know, she knew Shaunie, and she felt like Shaunie respected her as a dancer because of the way Royce maneuvered herself around the players and around their wives with respectability. Okay. And then Shaunie hit her up about doing the show, and she thought it was going to be a positive experience that showcased everyone's careers. And she did not really know the other cast members. And at the time when it was actually being pitched, she felt like she may have been the only one, you know, that Shaunie had really talked to in depth about it, because she was the only person from the cast, along with a Tom Huffman, who went to the pitch meetings. Now, Shaunie did not attend the pitch meetings with the networks. All right. It was Royce, it was Tom, and it was Shaunie's best friend. Now, apparently, apparently Royce has actually detailed this many times before. I just didn't know it. But for Royce, she feels like because her platform isn't as big as some of the other ladies, some of the things that she expresses doesn't really get out there in the media like some of the other ladies. Apparently, 8 networks wanted Basketball Wives, including the CW. And apparently the ladies in the sizzle were Erica, Evelyn, Jen, and maybe Susie. She actually thought that the sizzle was bad and that it looked fake, because they didn't really all know each other like that, and they filmed at a bar. But according to Royce, she knew how to sell a show. So for those of you guys who are wondering, a sizzle is kind of like an abbreviated version of what an episode would potentially look like, right? And a lot of times you will pitch a sizzle to the networks. It could be of the actual cast or what the cast would look like, right? So, and it's usually not very long. It could be 3 to 20 minutes or more, depending on what you actually have filmed. But again, it's to display to the network the personalities, potentially, if they have them, as well as the premise of the show. And then when you go in to do the pitch and you're doing the selling of the show, you are basically hyping it up, answering questions, and talking about what goes into this show that will make it such a success. And because Royce was able to sell it in that way, 8 networks wanted it. Okay. Now, she did not know at the time to ask for a producer credit. And she feels that she is actually one of the creators of Basketball Wives. All right. Because she feels like she is the person who sold the show. Now, she started hearing things during the production. So she felt like things were fine with the ladies on the show, when she first started. Everybody got along, everybody was, everything was cool. And apparently behind the scenes, she did not know that things were being shared about her that were told to Shawnee in confidence. So she's looking at Shawnee as like big sis. They're having, really deep, intense conversations where Royce is confiding in her about different situations. And little by little, those things start being incorporated into the show, leading Royce to sort of believe like what's going on. Now, that wasn't the case in the beginning, right? It was when I think they had been really kind of filming the season. A producer told her, well, we don't have anything. This is all boring. And they didn't really have anything until the pool party from the first season. I don't know if you guys recall this. Everybody was drinking. Her buddy DJ Irie was playing, and they decided to have a dance battle. So everybody was pushing Royce to, go in and let have because she's a dancer, right? So she had some reservations about it, but then she was like, nah, you know what? F this. I'm going to go in and I'm going to kill it, right? So apparently everybody was like, all in it. And then the next day, she says it was like a bomb drop because the rest of the ladies were saying, oh, well, you're a bad look for us. And, this isn't how we want to be portrayed. Hanging out with you is not a good look for us because she was doing the twerking and juking and jiving, right? But that's what she was encouraged to do. And she says that at that point in time, she started to feel really bad because, this was a shock to her because up until then they were getting along, right? So at that point, once the tide turned against her, she started to really put things together and realized that Shawnee was allegedly feeding the ladies information and intel about her. And they were then using that information to basically make her look like the bum or the unsavory, dancer girl. You know what I'm saying? For the purposes of making story for the show. So she felt kind of like the sacrificial lamb to a certain degree. So at that point, she decided that she was going to have to start defending herself, which she did not want to do. At one point, she had confided in Shawnee during filming, and then she discovered that she could not trust Shawnee because prior to filming, she reveals that Shawnee's ex-husband, Shaq, had been texting her. This was while he was married, allegedly, okay? And while she was still dancing. And then he ultimately cursed her out because she wouldn't talk to him. She then goes and shows Shawnee the text thread to put things out in the open, right? And of course, Shawnee was asking, well, like, how did he get your number and all that kind of stuff like that, right? So then filming starts, okay? And then she continues to confide in Shawnee. She hasn't realized yet that Shawnee is allegedly going back and feeding this information to the other girls until this one moment where she had confided in Shawnee one day. And then the next day, Evelyn is asking her about the text messages from Shaq. Okay. Now, this is all very interesting because I just juxtaposed this now with this idea that Jennifer would later tell the other ladies that Evelyn was also allegedly having conversations, okay, with Shaq. You guys recall that? Okay. So as Royce is revealing this to us, I'm automatically going back in my mind like, wait, could it be that it was also true that he had tried to communicate with Evelyn as well? I mean, that was the tea that Jennifer was allegedly, I mean, that's what Tammy said that Jennifer was telling the girls. Malaysia also confirmed this. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, and then the idea that in this current season of Basketball Wives, Brittany is finding herself going out to dinner with Shaq. It's all very, very interesting to me. Okay. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And did this occur to you if you happen to watch the interview? And if it didn't, does it occur to you now? Okay. Just some interesting food for thought. Okay. Interesting food for thought. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, that's when Royce realized she couldn't trust any of them, Susie included. She did feel like Susie was the bone collector. Susie was kind of like the person that was like, sure, I'll do it. I'll do it. There's always one or two, right? She has not spoken to Susie since she was on the show. She still talks to Keisha, Mika, Tammy, and Kenya. Mika was of the mushed variety. Season 2, she started standing up for herself in more of a big way. And it was asked, what was it about Royce that Evelyn had such an issue with? Royce felt like she was a target because Evelyn always underestimated her. She felt like Evelyn was quick with her words, but she felt like she was quicker. There's even, of course, she reveals that she's heard things about Evelyn that she would never reveal because, she still has a line that she refuses to cross. But she doesn't really think about Evelyn at this point. Last time I think she may have said something about Evelyn, she recalls, was maybe around the time the OG incident happened. It was asked what was going through her mind when Evelyn threw the glass at her. I don't know if you guys recall that or not. She says it didn't feel warranted. She swerved and then reached out to grab Evelyn, and she was going to try to hit Evelyn with her glass because Evelyn had thrown the glass at her. Okay. She thinks that the producers knew it was Evelyn's plan to fight her and that security swooped in really, really fast, and she never filmed with Evelyn again after that. It was asked if Evelyn was protected by production, and Roy says she was protected to the extent that when she did all the craziness, she wasn't reprimanded, and she felt like production loved Evelyn's antics, including running across the table with the shoes off. Y'all remember that? For Royce, she felt like because she had a dance company, where she was coaching, young Black girls, that this wasn't something that she could really stay in once things continued to go spiral out of control on the show. Regarding Jennifer, she did feel like Jennifer was Evelyn's lapdog, but she also felt like Jennifer was cool one-on-one, but when she got around Evelyn, she changed. It was, of course, asked why she decided to leave Basketball Wives because she had gotten an off-Broadway play and she missed acting, and she knew she couldn't continue to do the show and have a career in the industry and felt it was time to walk away. She felt like it was amicable because she had a conversations with the producers, not Shawnee, because she felt like Shawnee didn't like her. All right. And one of the things that really bothered her was that allegedly Evelyn had put it out there, or she believes it was Evelyn that put it out there, that Shawnee's then boyfriend, who was, I guess, maybe a younger guy, had brought Royce some shoes that she doesn't even like wear. Like maybe there were some heels or something like that. And apparently Shawnee knew that wasn't true, yet still said nothing. So for her, she felt like they didn't see her as a person at all. They felt like she felt like she was just something like a prop for them to make story against, right? It's interesting because I feel like for Royce, she said something that I feel like to be true. With this type of reality television, the goal is, specifically if you want to act and get out there and do other things, and we talked about this a little bit with Erica Mena, the goal is to get out of these situations before Because if you know that you're thriving in the conflict and you know that you're being used for conflict, then you probably want to get out of it before the conflict goes too far, which it always inevitably does. Okay. So I did feel like that was smart. She felt like um it was challenging working with Shawnee because she was in charge of the show. Not so much for her because she felt like Shawnee was less of a major player during her seasons and more of a major player in later seasons. Like for Brandy, when Shawnee told her, "Thank you for your services," she said Shawnee does not have the power to fire anybody. Okay. And she felt like it was unfair for sure when she was telling certain people what was being said, particularly Evelyn. So basically, Royce is saying that, Evelyn is sort of like Shaunie's favorite, allegedly. And that, you know, Shawnee could be potentially seeing the tapes of what's being filmed and then go report certain things to Evelyn and then giving Evelyn an advantage over the other ladies. I mean, last time she spoke to Shawnee was on her last reunion. She would be willing to have a conversation with her, but she really doesn't know what she would get from that. Um, she doesn't feel like it would make it any better. And Carlos sums it up that, many of the cast members have basically said that they don't really feel safe on that particular show. And she agreed. And she felt like, because she felt like, you know, she and Shawnee were close. Like she really felt like that. And she felt like she was being baited. Like it was like she would go and open up about something, with Shawnee while they were filming. And then the conversation would be like for 3 hours, but they would only show the one thing that they really wanted. And it would look like something, you know what I'm saying? Like she was being baited to open up about something. And then once they got that something, that's the something that they would use, but nothing prior to that. And of course, I think that's the name of the game with reality anyway. Would she ever return to Basketball Wives? She says she would if Carlos had something to do with it because she feels like in watching Carlos's shows, they are getting what's actually happening. And she talks about also sometimes having to film things that she didn't want to film and tell and say things she didn't want to say. Apparently, next after she left Basketball Wives, she did the play and she continued the dance company. She does go into sort of detailing how she got with Dwight Howard, and she really talks about how she got, well, how they conceived their son. And she had found out prior to that he had been cheating on her with a couple of her teammates, her Heat dancer teammates. And she had broken up with him, but her friend DJRichie had talked to her into going to a hotel to hear what he had to say. Then they started hugging up on each other, and the hug led from one thing to another. And then she was pregnant. She thought about having, the procedure to get rid of the baby. And she ultimately decided not to. But at that point, she goes on to say that she couldn't put his last name on the baby shower invitations or the registry. And they wanted her to do a prenatal paternity test in, I guess, maybe one of his offices or something like that. And at the end, she says something like that's interesting. She says she kept all the phones, all of her old phones, in case something happened. And she felt like people would be able to get into the phones and find out what happened to her. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen the clip that actually came out on Carlos King's Instagram page, but in that clip, she alludes to this idea of there potentially being like a hit out on her or something like that. And I'm like, this is sounding a little like Mob Wives. I mean, I don't know. This is sounding real kind of scary. So I guess we'll get more of that in part 2 of the interview. But since part 1 had so much to do with Basketball Wives, I was like, we got to weave it into the Basketball Wives review, right? So let's get into this particular episode of Basketball Wives. For me, this was episode 5, Cooking with Fire. I mean, it was a lot of chaotic emotion, to be very honest with you. A lot of touch and go, touch base. Everybody gets like 30 seconds of a scene. It's just very they never really let a scene breathe on this show. And I would have to give the episode a 7 because I just feel like we really didn't go anywhere. The most movement that we had, I can probably sum up in like maybe 2 minutes, but because it was an actual episode, I do want to kind of give it a little bit more or a little bit more grace for those of you guys who may not have seen it. I want to tell you what happened, right? Um you know, there's this idea that Shanice is still not over the things that Jennifer allegedly said about her. And I had forgotten that it was Shawnee that revealed the things that Jennifer was saying about Shanice, which is goes a long way towards why Evelyn believed it at the time and why Shanice still has a hard time with it. I think that Evelyn at this point in time realizes that they have a show to do and a job to do. And I think she just recognizes that it would probably be easier to get along with Jennifer than not and to carry this thing on. Because, we the fans, really, we don't really like a beat that lasts for years. We got to turn the page at some point. And that's just the way reality TV works. But for Shanice, I'm assuming she's like, no, girl, I'm not on this show. It's real. Okay. And so there's this idea that Shanice could walk in the house at any time and Jennifer could be there. And I'm like, well, whose house is it? Is it Shanice's or is it yours? Because you grown and you pay the bills, or do you? Like, what's tea? There is this Brooke and Jaceel. We were introduced to Jaceel via Brooke. So Jaceel is going to be styling Brooke and doing, I guess, some stuff with her hair. They recap the situation that happened between Brooke and Brittany. And Jaceel flat out tells her, like, I ain't appreciate, y'all, like the body shaming that y'all was doing. And for Brooke, she feels like Brittany body shamed her first when she said that, she need to talk to her plastic surgeon. So she clapped back at her. I respect the fact that Jaceel is very upfront about how she feels and what she does and does not like with everybody, right? She don't spare nobody, her opinions. They don't be threatening, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she doesn't do it in a very threatening way, but she does it in a very real way. I like that. That's why she's quickly becoming, I think, one of my favorite characters on this show, because I feel like she's very much don't start none, won't be none, but I'm gonna tell you how I feel. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we need, right? Um, Jackie goes and she meets with Brittany, and they talk for a little bit, and Jackie wants to get all the girls together essentially for a cooking class. Jen stops by Ev's. They reminisce about old times. I mean, these scenes are check-ins. They're very brief. Insert your ticket, get your ticket back out, and head on out the parking lot. That's what each of these scenes feels like. Check your ticket in. Okay, grab your coat from Coat Check. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Let me hear you say well, and then you out. Okay. So Brittany, Vanessa, Jaceel, and Clayana meet up for basketball. I'm shocked Clayana's still hanging around. But whenever she's around, Jennifer will not be around, which I'm like, granted, that's how real life would work, but in terms of the show, it don't make it no good. So anyway, they meet up for basketball and they start recapping the party, and Vanessa reveals that Evelyn is no longer engaged, and Jaceel is kind of like, Vanessa, girl, like why you all up in everybody's business? Clayana also gives them a debrief of what happened with her and Jennifer, and her going on about how Jen doesn't have no kids. And so, there's this idea of is Clayana like kid shaming the fact that Jennifer doesn't have any kids or whatever, like by any players. And Jaceel is kind of annoyed with Clayana because Clayana is not really, allowing Jaceel to express her opinion about the situation. And Clayana is not going to apologize to Jen, but will be cordial. Next, they discuss Brittany and Brooke. And Jaceel brings up again, confronting Brooke about the body shaming, and reveals that Brooke said that Brittany actually talked about her body first. And Brittany is like, nah, we're going to tell the truth. But the flashback does show that Brittany mentioned the surgeon thing first as an indication of what she thinks about Brooke's body. Okay. So at that point, Cleanna reveals that Cleanna's like, this is all semantics. Brooke shouldn't have been standing up over her anyway. And Giselle is like, well, Brooke felt like, Brittany was getting out of hand and it was making her anxious because apparently Brittany was banging on the table, with her bottle and stuff like that. And Brittany's getting pissed off and Cleanna is getting pissed off as well because they feel like Giselle has Brooke's back in this and not theirs, essentially. But Giselle really just wants everybody to get along, for real. So Jackie and Evelyn show up to work out with Vanessa. And, the craziest thing about this scene was Jackie is bringing some Hennessy to this workout, claiming that it's apple juice. Go figure. They recap Giselle's party, and Jackie is really happy that Ev and Jen are getting along, and Evelyn reveals that Shawnee still has some issues with Jen, and also reveals that Jen and Christian got scammed over the dog. Now, I don't know if you guys recall, but in the prior week, they were looking for dogs, right? And I guess they had found one that they liked, and they had given $750 to, I guess, whoever was going to be selling the dog. And then the person ran off with their money and never gave them a dog, right? So at that point in time, Jack is like, well, who paid for the dog? And Vanessa is thinking the same thing. And they're thinking that Christian scammed Jennifer out of $750 over this dog. Like that he did it to Jennifer because they surmised that Jennifer has had such a bad past with men scamming her and doing her dirty in these relationships. So now there's this idea percolating between Jackie and Vanessa that Christian could be scamming Jennifer. But $750? It didn't really make much sense to me, but heck, I mean, it didn't really make much sense to me when she came out about that Range Rover either. So I don't know, Anyway, Vanessa and Jackie get together then to cook for Doug and Isaiah. And Isaiah is Vanessa's husband. So we do meet him for the first time. And whatever they cooking, it ain't really a done meal. Okay. So, I mean, we don't need to go into it. It was very disturbing. I would not have eaten that food. Sorry, Miss Vanessa. And sorry to you, Jackie. I don't know why y'all didn't just cater for y'all men. Okay. Or them cater to you. Whatever the case may be, but don't try that again on this television screen. Because I don't know what we're doing with these potatoes that ain't baked. So anyway, Vanessa, we learned, has a whole file on Jen and this puppy situation. Oh yes, a file. A binder, if you will. And she's done the investigation on Christian, Jennifer's man. And of course, Vanessa, who believes that she is in the CIA or should have been in the CIA, but she got, arrested around 17. So that, I guess that sort of cut those plans short or whatever. Odd that she's talking about Christian being arrested, but she reveals that she was arrested. But I guess at least she revealed it since it was her. But I mean, arrest for arrest, really. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know what her crime was. I don't know what his. Apparently, he did 10 years in the prison. And I'm thinking to myself, well, dang, allegedly. Dang, ain't he like 27? I mean, did he spend 17 to 27 in there? I mean, the man is young, okay? The man look like, he about 30 at the most, okay? So was it 20 to 30? How long was he in the prison or in the jail, as she says? I don't know. She said prison. I wrote down prison. Allegedly, he has a 13-year-old. This man has been busy, booked and busy. Then he changed his name. So, okay. And she wants to give Jackie all the information. I think she wants to give Jackie the file, the dossier, the binder, everything that she has in the vault on this man. And Jackie is like, I don't want this file, okay? And don't talk about none of this around my man because I don't do none of this around my man, okay? I don't do none of the crazy shenanigans around my man. Don't bring it around my man. My man, okay? So anyway, Evelyn and Brooke, it looked like they filming at Tags. What did that say? Tags on the thing? I'm like, is this Candy's Tags? Is it Tags in LA? Jackie joins them, and she's inviting them to the cooking class. Evelyn gonna be out of town again. Brooke is going regardless of whether Brittany is gonna be there or not, and Jackie is gonna invite Cleanna. And she don't know how Jennifer gonna feel about it. And Evelyn's like, you need to call Jen and let her know. So Jackie FaceTimes her and tells her she's having a cooking class. Jen is like, who all gonna be there? That's the same question I ask anytime somebody's having an event. Actually, not so much anymore because I think my friends know me well enough to know don't invite me to a place that you inviting a whole lot of extra people to, because it ain't that it's not really the strangers that I'm talking about. It's like people that I know that I don't like, period. And usually if I don't like them, it's because I feel like they're messy, period. Because I don't do mess. In my personal life, like, it's fun to watch it on TV, but in my personal life, no. Keep all of that away from me. I don't want none of it. I'll stay in the house for all that. I could just watch these shows if I wanted some mess. Anyway, basically, Jen ain't going nowhere with Kalanick, okay? AKA Clayana. Anyway, Jackie then lets her know. They start talking about scents or whatnot, and Jackie is like, her and Doug are into scents because they are, I guess, maybe in a candle store or something. I don't know where they at. Who knows? I can't remember. Is it tags? I don't know. So Ev is like, oh, Jen and her man are like the scents. He likes booty scents. Why do we know this? Anyway, Jackie is like, oh, well, she's curious about him. And so is Vanessa, because Vanessa is investigating and has a dossier. And so Ev is like, here we go. Vanessa got too much time on her hands and Jen is grown, okay? And so, I think for Vanessa, she's just worried about whether or not Jen is dealing with another scammer. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's a good question. I'm not saying the man is a scammer. I'm definitely not saying that. And I don't really care that he's been to prison, because if you did the crime, you served the time. We got to let it go at that point. But who among us don't have friends, family, relatives who have been to prison, okay, or jail or whatever? So to me, that ain't nothing new. I guess the question on the books is, did he scam Jennifer out of the $750 for this dog? Period, or more. Okay. But regardless, Evelyn is saying, like, Jennifer's grown. Like, she got to make those decisions for herself. Like, can nobody you can't run around telling nobody about what to do with their relationship. I mean, is it working for us and Robin and Juan? No. So anyway, Jackie doesn't want to say anything about it to Jennifer. And Brooke is like, well, who you think not going to say anything about it? Because you should be talking to her about it, because you're the one that found out and y'all just got back friends, and this would go a long way towards making her trust you again. And Brooke is like, why is Vanessa all up in everybody's business? Because Jen is going to tear her up. And I'm like she did Clayana when Clayana pushed her in her face. I don't know. Anyway, it's the day of the cooking Ponderosa. Let's just face it, Jen is not about that life, and that's fine. Not everybody is. I'm totally with you 100%. Put your hands on me, I'm calling the police. So anyway, it's the day of the cooking Ponderosa. Vanessa arrives first. Jackie reveals that she doesn't feel right about this Jennifer stuff, and Vanessa does want to confront Jennifer with it because she wants her to know, like, hey, we're looking out for you. And Jackie's like, no, I don't really want to be there. Okay. But Vanessa wants to have Jackie there in case things go left, and I can promise you things won't go that left with Jen. Okay. Jacille and Clayana arrive, not together, because Jacille is still annoyed at Clayana from the other day when they had that little Ponderosa with Vanessa and Brittany. Brooke arrives and she does not speak to Clayana, and Clayana in her confessional calls her a blowfish. They take a vote to wait for Brittany or not, and Brooke is like, who? Because she still wants an apology. So they start the class, and then Brittany with the bangs arrives. She's wearing Vanessa's bangs. Vanessa still has her bangs, so I'm guessing now we got two bangs. And so Brittany got a text from Clayana on the way there that Brooke was talking about her. And then when she gets there, she notices that Brooke and Jacille are kikiing and ha-haing. So now that puts her on the defense with not only Brooke, but also Jacille. See how people get riled? See how you can get people riled up real easily? So then they get to cooking, and Jackie reveals that she has a prize. Boom, a girls trip, yay. They're going to go to Scottsdale, Arizona. They're going to have a shaman. And Brooke reveals that her B-Day is coming up, so she's kind of nervous about spending her time with Jackie and the rest of these ladies. Brooke says a prayer, for the food. And Brittany's like, I don't want this energy over my food. And Brooke is recognizing and listening and peeping the petty, but she's going to count to 10 before it goes left. Now, Jaceel also recognizes that Clayana is up in Brittany's ear as they are all leaving. So now she on notice that Clayana is, is sprinkling some fairy dust in Brittany's ears and bangs. So then Clayana and Brittany stay back to talk because she recognizes that Brittany is feeling kind of off. And Brittany's like, she feels like Jaceel is acting fake, okay, and being more loyal to Brooke. And then Clayana also feels like Jaceel is being fake with Brittany too. And then Brittany feels like Jackie wasn't unbiased and was on Brooke's side. How? I don't know, but I guess we'll find out maybe next week. So anyway, that's the tea with Basketball Wives. All of the Basketball Wives tea that we got for y'all today. Okay. And if anything else pops off, we will definitely come back with another video. And until then, I will catch you in the next one.